Welcome to the Family Dynamics Podcast.
You have to just be willing to talk about these things, and you have to be willing to put it all on the table.
Learn firsthand from the power couple who's built a healthy relationship, from major and minor issues,
The good, the bad, the ugly,
to triumphs of the family unit.
In this day and age, you need somebody by your side.
Utilize proven techniques and strategies to help your relationship and family thrive to the next level.
You have to compromise.
This is the Family Dynamics Podcast with Kevin and Alicia Meeks.
Welcome to another episode of the Family Dynamics Podcast. Once again, we're in our studio, and I'm sitting here with the beautiful, my wife, Alicia Meeks.
Hey.
And today, we wanted to just discuss,
What are we discussing, babe?
I don't know.
We're discussing deal breakers and unexpected expectations.
Yeah, deal breakers.
Okay, so I guess we can just start with what is a deal breaker. What we're talking about is deal breakers between two people who have committed to a relationship, but in this case, we're just talking about marriage, because that's the type of relationship we're in. So when two people agree to marry and commit to each other, what are their deal breakers? And if so, what is it? What is a deal breaker? A deal breaker is a reason why someone will call it quits, why someone would want a divorce, why someone would want to leave. It's something for some people that makes them just, okay, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not at all. And so then when it occurs, that's a deal breaker for them. They out. I mean, although marriage is supposed to be till death do you part, but everybody doesn't go by that. And some people go by it, but then they say, but this and but that. So that's what we're talking about today, deal breakers.
When we first got married, I wanted to eliminate like the exit sign. Like in the back of your mind, when you get in regular monogamous relationships, like you got this exit sign, and if this happen, I'm out. If this don't occur, I'm out. So I think for us, we could have had those deal breakers in our mind, but once you come back to, what we doing is our union and our covenant, like there is nothing that you could do that's gonna say like, you know what, let's just go. Now you may be so angry, like, man, I just can't deal with this. But at the end of the day, like, I got to stick in this. I got to keep going in this marriage. But dating, you can just.
Well, some people, even with being married or dating, they have it. Are you saying you didn't have any deal breakers? Like any something?
Well, I think, I had some deal breakers when we were dating. But then once we got into a covenant.
What was a deal breaker when we were dating?
What's a deal breaker? A deal breaker was like if you didn't accept my children, or but now, like, you marrying me, so why wouldn't you accept my children? Mm-hmm. So that's a deal breaker,
right?
But that was when we were dating. So now we married. That's not a deal breaker anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I'm just saying some people do have deal breakers.
Oh, absolutely.
That's something
Absolutely.
They're not going to deal with, period, whether they took a vow or not, married or not. They just are not going to deal with it, whatever it is. So a few deal breakers that some people have are cheating, abuse, drugs and alcohol, gambling, meddling in-laws. Sometimes the in-laws get to be just too much and people get tired. Personally, I just feel in that situation that I married my husband. Although, because I married him, we both married each other family too. But ultimately, it's about him. like I wouldn't, like with that being somebody's deal breaker. I did a survey with a few wives, and I, text them and ask, like, what are some of your, do you have a deal breaker? If so, what is it? And so these are some of the responses: cheating, abuse, drugs and alcohol, gambling, in-laws, selfishness, spouse don't have your back. So if it's situations in which you feel like your spouse doesn't have your back, that may just get to be too much. Like, I'm always
like having your back, like feeling supported.
Yeah, feeling supported, or just having. What other way can you have the back?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I was asking. Like, was it just because just not feeling supported? Like, have your back could be. I don't know. You could have an argumentative spouse or a combative spouse out in the street. Like, have your back. You want me to be.
Yeah. Well, I
like
think personally, just have my back in every way.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Like, whether we in the street and I'm getting into it with somebody, whether we in the street and I'm getting into it with somebody, or
in the line at the restaurants. You better not put the mayonnaise on there.
He's saying that because today that happened with this doggone Portillo's and they lettuce. Yeah. But anyway, they put 2 little pieces of lettuce. When I tell you little pieces, big like a quarter, that little of a piece, like it was like a silver dollar, 2 pieces.
Come on, put lettuce on y'all.
And it was just crazy, but nevertheless, have my back. Like, don't act like, like I'm going crazy. Like, oh, my wife. No, yeah, that's a shame. They put only 2 pieces of lettuce on your food. But no, I think just in all situations, like if it's an issue, any type of issue that needs to be addressed, whether it's with a relative, a parent, a friend, a foe, like whatever it is, like have your spouse back equally.
Yeah.
Like, he have my back and I'll have his.
Right.
So that's that with
and a lot of people that I've seen, they deal breakers be financial deal breakers.
Like what?
And I really got a problem with that.
What do you mean though?
Like financial deal breakers, like if the husband or the wife isn't providing or producing enough income, then that's a deal breaker. I'm out, or I don't want to continue, or I don't even want to get married to you because you're not producing enough.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what? This is my thing.
I know some people not.
But this is my thing. How do you have a deal breaker of things that can be fixed?
Right.
Like things like money comes and goes. Weight comes and goes.
Well, that's shallow stuff. Like, I said from the beginning, like, maturity matters. So, like, the 20-something-year-old Alicia, whatever I wanted back then, definitely ain't what I want now at 42.
Right.
So, I had to live and learn. Live a little, learn a lot, and adjust, And so the shallow things that I may have, and I'm calling it myself, it just is what it is. Like the shallow things that I might have looked at, oh, you tall, you this, you that, you got this. No. At 42, I'm looking at how you are a companion. What do you do to aid my life and benefit me in some type of way? How you treat my child, things like that. So I do believe that you live and learn, and
now I don't think it's nothing wrong with having a preference, but having a deal breaker to go into a marriage or to have just a strong relationship, like. Why do you have all of these deal breakers for things that can change?
Things that can change, like, for instance, like a lot of men who want, like, it just is. Some people like thick chicks, some people like skinny women. Yeah. So for all the men that like skinny women, a lot of the skinny people that I knew in high school, because I definitely wasn't one of them, I always been thick like grits. But for what?
Nothing.
And so for that, like, a lot of the women that were skinny in high school are no longer. Not saying that they obese or anything right now, but I'm just saying things change. And then some obese women that I knew in high school. They didn't slimp down. I don't know, did they go get some work done or what all had happened, or did they genuinely just lose the weight, or did they have a surgery, or I'm not sure. And sometimes medically people end up losing weight, but nevertheless people change physically, mentally, and all of that. And so if you are the husband that only want a skinny person, and then this wife that you vow to love and cherish to death do you part, she gained some weight, you out?
Right. Because that's what I'm talking about. Like, things can change. Like, you can work out, you can get on a diet, you can earn extra money,
but you can't go into a relationship secretly thinking in your mind like this stuff gonna change. Like, you can't do that either, because you'll set yourself up for failure. You can't walk into a relationship, whatever it is that you may dislike, whether it's...
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like, I'm gonna accept you for who you are, not for what you can become.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's unfair for someone to marry you and they know this about you, and then years down the line they're discontent because they was hoping something would change. Well, you knew this about that person. Right. Whatever it is, whether it's sexually, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, you knew this about me. I mean, and the physically is kind of iffy because that's what we was talking about. Like, it could change. People gain, people lose. But I'm just saying, you already knew this when you got into the marriage. And so when you secretly is thinking about something changing, that's not really fair to the person. And so that leads to the other topic, the unspoken expectations. You're secretly expecting this person to change in this area when you knew how they were from the beginning. So that's an unspoken expectation.
Yeah, but I think that...
And how fair is that?
But, well, I can't say it's not fair. I think that when you, as you say you were, and me, my desires at 20, at 35 is different. So, yeah, as I'm growing, I'm allowing you to grow and to blossom, and I'm growing to blossom. So now we're having conversations like, you know what? I'm not really into that, but I really want more of this. So an expectation like, hey, babe, I want to change some things. I want a little bit more different, because what I want at 35, I'm sure I'm not going to want at 60. So we can't base our marriage off the 7 years that we've been together, or whoever's in relationship, to say, I want this to stay the same from day one to day forever.
Right. No, you're going to live and grow. But what I'm saying is, if someone doesn't grow in the direction you want them to, that's not really fair for you to be mad or discontent, because they may grow in the way in which you want them to, whatever area that is, whether it's maturity, because some people are still irresponsible.
Yeah.
Like, you could have a parent, of your child that's it's the same irresponsible they've been since day one. So some people don't get more responsible. So to whoever with that person, what you mad for? You already knew they was irresponsible. Like, get over it. I mean, You was hoping that something would change. You was hoping that the cheater would stop cheating. You was hoping that the alcoholic would stop being an alcoholic. Like, for instance, when I was dating, I just didn't. I don't know. My high school me was around persons that smoked marijuana, even though it's a totally different world today. It's very legal and everything else. But back then, it was not illegal. But I was around certain people that smoked marijuana, and the stench from it, because I've never smoked it to this day. So the stench of it to me. Now, people who smoke marijuana, it might smell actually good. I don't know. But to me, it stunk so much that I was like, I'm not marrying nobody who smoke weed and stuff like this because it's just not something I want. I don't want ashtrays all over my house. I don't want my clothes to have that smell in my house, my couch. Like, I just don't. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to get in a car and it's a film of smoke. Like, no. So...
But that's it. I don't think nothing wrong with that. And I think there's a different shift in what we're talking about. Like, when it comes to damaging the growth of your relationship or health-wise, like, you can be discontent and then be able to express that. Like, yeah, you knew, for instance, if I said I did crack cocaine, like, that's not healthy. Nor is it accepted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So for you, if you was to tell me that's not what I do, but if for you was
we
to tell
know
me,
that's
like,
not what you do.
But
baby.
I'm just saying it's okay for if that's what you married me as, and then you just it's not changing, but you want that to change because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for our relationship, for our kids to see that I do these drugs or whatever. So I think that that's okay to be discontent or to continue to feel some type of way.
If you married a crackhead and you knew they was a crackhead from the moment you married them,
but they not always a crackhead. That's what they do in their personal time.
Well, whatever extent it is, you knew that they did this.
Sure.
So, how fair is it for you to now you want them to stop smoking crack? Like, if that's what this is extreme. I don't even know why we talking about, but it is a deal breaker for some people that's drugs. But I'm just saying, like, if I knew the person smoked weed,
but
what if they never wanted to stop?
Right. So let's say somebody is an excessive spender. They want to buy the Jordans, the PS5s every time they come out. All of the new iPhones, they just spend. But the person that they are great. But they really irresponsible spenders. Mm-hmm. Now you 10, 20 years into this marriage and they not changing. So should you accept that irresponsible behavior?
You can have a feeling because we are human beings. You can have a feeling, but then you look yourself at the man in the mirror and say, hello, self. Did you know that person was spending like that when you married them? Would you say yes? Oh, okay. So
but I'm saying
I knew
people
that.
don't stay the same.
I know what you're saying, but you can't. I hear what you're saying about people don't stay the same. Yes, I get what you're saying. But if someone doesn't grow in the area in which the way and the direction that you want them to go,
so we leave then.
How fair is that? That's not fair. Like yes, people grow, and some people don't outgrow some of the things that you may dislike. And so if you dislike those so much that you feel like further down along the lane that you may want to leave, then you should have rethought that before you...
No, it's no way that a spouse or a person in a relationship can see 15 years down the line if this is going to change or not.
But when you go... That's why I'm saying. When you go into the relationship, when you're going into it,
you know, before marriage.
Before marriage.
Oh no! Wait! Stop here, because there are things that I say it all the time. There are things that a man and a woman don't even show each other until those papers are signed, until you standing at the altar. Years later, there are things that 7 years of our marriage that I'm learning more and more about you, about how you grew up, how it relates to how you are and how you react and how you move and how you assess situations. 7 years to learn a person who's been on earth for 40 or for, you know what I mean? So you can't expect like, boom, we've been dating for, so then that contradicts the 9 and 10 year engagements.
Oh, I never.
But that's what I'm saying.
I don't know whoever want to be engaged for no 9, 10 years.
But that would make sense why you would be engaged for 10 years.
Not I
don't see why. But you can't learn a person. We can have an episode
on that. That's
you can't learn a person in months and years of dating and say this is who they are. You have a outline of who they are, and then you just have to just go with it and y'all work on each other together. Like it's a work in progress. So some people will develop habits that wasn't even there when y'all was dating.
Facts, but we're talking about something that you were saying is a deal breaker that may not change.
Not accepting kids, being very
No, I'm not
drugs.
saying you. I'm saying
right,
people,
right.
period. Like, we are talking about deal
Right.
breakers
No, I
and
got you.
things that people know going in the gate.
Sure.
Not what people are going to develop or what have you, but what you know based off of this person today.
I got you.
Boom.
got you.
You agreed to marry him and you knew X, Y, and Z. That's not okay. That you mad about it down the line. You knew this.
Right.
You can hope and you can continue to pray for him, but to be upset about your unspoken expectation,
Sure.
deep in your mind, well, hopefully he will this or that.
No, yeah, that's not
No, that's not fair to the
it's not fair.
person. That is not fair. Now, if they do grow, great, but you can't. You could just blame your own self. If there was something about that person when you married them that you was hoping in your mind, like, yeah, because down the line it's gonna change. How fair? That's not fair.
Now that I can agree with. That is not fair. If a person is emotionally detached, emotionally abusive, or just not responsible on any type of level in the beginning, and then you just had this expectation that they just not gonna be these people, like, and I'm just picking situations, then you do, like she said, you do have to look in the mirror and say, well, I accepted this on a whim that they would change something. Mm-hmm. That's you doing yourself a disservice in that, because we are advocates of having intentional conversations when you, before you, during your relationships. Intense, meaning ask the questions that you expecting. Hey, do you think that you're gonna be this way? Do you see yourself
What in the courting stage?
Yeah, ask these questions. Ask these questions. We had some really, we go back to that one book that we had put down. We had a lot of questions that we had to ask each other. Now, you can't get through everything because people develop in different ways throughout your relationship, but we was asking each other some very hard questions to get us where we at. Now, we couldn't ask everything, but we had enough to say, man, I can deal with this, and whatever arises, that's the better or for worse part. Mm-hmm. Now, my wife said all the time, if you just in a regular relationship, you're not married, you're not bound to any obligations to a person. So there's always, in that sense, a exit looming, because you just dating.
Yeah, well, basically, just the fact is, if you're not married, you single. Period. Whether y'all agreed that y'all was in a platonic relationship.
People ain't gonna like that.
I don't care what they like or don't like.
It's truth.
Facts.
It's the
I
truth.
mean, it's just a fact. If you're not married, you're what?
You're single.
What is another word for it? There's another word for it.
Common law.
No, that's a no. If you're not married, you're single, and it's fine. Embrace it. I was single at one point, and I was divorced. So I was another adjective. So so the point is that if you're not married, you're single. So technically, you got many outs.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to deal with anything. You know, not saying that if you married, you got to deal with everything. That is not what I'm saying. But if you're married, and it depends on how spiritual you are, then you also made a commitment to God. And in that commitment, it was for better or worse, and to death do you part. Absolutely. And so therefore, you have to try to work as best you can with somebody. Now, I know that sounds hypocritical, because I just told y'all I was divorced. Yes, this is my second marriage, but I do read the Bible, and in the Bible, you can get a divorce if that person commits adultery. And so, as transparent as I am, I wrote a book about it. When the Soul Cries, you can get it at aliciameeks.com. I wrote a book about it, and so it's no secret that my daughter's father was the cheater of the world. And so I had many outs. Like, I don't have to deal with any of this if I don't want to. Now, I could have, for better or worse, that on out, but if I chose not to, God is forgiving me, because he's not going to let you just walk over his children and wipe your feet. So, with that being said,
Amen
that's that. But yes, if you're not married, you're single. or divorce.
So moral to that story is what we saying is what are your deal breakers, and are your deal breakers unrealistic, realistic? Are you even talking about with your current spouse or with your engaged partner or whatever relationship you're in? Are you talking about these things? Like, what are your deal breakers? And when I say unrealistic, are you looking at the person in the mirror first and then the person across from you and saying, hey, will these things change? Can I deal with this for another?
If it doesn't, ask yourself that
Right.
question. If, okay, this thing I don't like, if it never changes, am I okay with that?
I'm okay with that, right?
Am I, like, just, you got to have a real, a real talk with your own self. Am I okay if this doesn't ever change? So if we go back to the list, you knew he was a cheater before before he even proposed. You knew he was a cheater. And so if you knew he was a cheater and you still married him anyway, hoping and wishing and praying something was going to change, shame on you. Now, sometimes men do grow up and they do change, like, I don't know, but sometimes they don't. And so you really can't be upset. You agree to it. With the in-laws, that's so, because you don't know really what you truly getting into with in-laws until you into it, because you don't live with them. And so, you start seeing things about them later on down the line, as they do see things about you too. But I'm just saying, so I really don't know whoever sent in that comment and said about the in-laws. That's a whole different thing.
And that was another podcast that we even said, like, if it's not inside it wasn't just so much inside your house. If it ain't between y'all two, because I know there are in-laws, there are people, grandparents that stay with the married couple. Mm-hmm. So you can't even say inside the house, but inside the covenant, whoever wasn't standing up there.
In the covenant, yes.
Like, you don't let those people in. So,
well, you don't let those people come and tear up your marriage. Like, you don't allow something that they're doing to possibly destroy your marriage.
Yeah. So I think that have these conversations, and this is a call to action. Have these conversations with your spouse, with your engaged partner, or however your union is set up.
And you can just ask them flat out. Yeah. I just want to know, like, do you have some unspoken expectations of me that I don't know about?
Absolutely.
That you secretly hoping could change, like, about me? Is it things about me that you secretly wish could change? And it might not be secretly. Maybe they told you they wanted to change too. But I'm just saying, have that conversation. You can. And that's, like, just good communication. It's just having a conversation with your spouse. Just talking about some things.
And you start that off.
And be ready.
Yeah. Be ready.
Because I hate when people ask a question and they not ready for the truth. Don't ask me a question, because once I tell you the truth, right now I'm sitting on something. And if that person asks me why, I've already committed to saying the truth. The reason why. So I'm hoping and wishing and praying you don't. Well, I'm not wishing and praying because I'm ready to say it. But if you ask someone something, be ready for the response. Be ready for whatever the answer may be, and you can't get mad because you asked.
You asked. And
I'm just talking to self too, because sometimes I ask a question and I may not want to know the answer. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think the truth reigns over everything. So and that's another thing. If your spouse asks you something, be truthful. I mean, what you gonna do? Get a whooping?
Right. Be honest.
Like, be honest. That's why I don't like grown liars. Like, I just hate a liar, period. But, yeah, I just hate a liar, period. But what are you lying about? Like, just tell the truth. It's no need to lie. If your spouse comes to you and asks you something directly, answer it directly. Try to put it as nice a way as possible to try to spare feelings, but it is what it is.
And if you're not that person that is not direct in that way, just assess the person that you're talking to. If you're talking to your lady, or you talking to your husband, or you talking to your boyfriend, like, understand that they don't receive things well, so you may have to color some things away. So
what do you mean with that?
I mean, you may have to
You
color.
talking about like sugarcoat something?
Not sugarcoat,
What?
but everybody can't take being direct. with
I'm
what-
not saying be rude. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, because don't blur
I'm
the line
saying,
between being direct and rude.
boom.
Don't do
Don't do that. I'm saying be direct. You can say it in a good manner. You can say it in a wonderful tone. But say it. Don't make it where they're trying to read between the lines to kind of what you might have meant. No. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
that. Yeah.
So that's just it. Today we was talking about deal breakers and unspoken expectations.
Deal breakers and deal breakers and unexpected expectations. We gave you guys the call to action. This is Kevin and Alicia Meeks on the Family Dynamics podcast. Hey, share this with somebody. Put this down in the comments. What you think? What you think? What are some deal breakers that maybe you have had, or you overcame, or you was able to talk to with your spouse? Let us know. Give us some topics. Give us some things that you would like for us to talk about. But again, this is Kevin and Alicia Meeks on the Family Dynamics podcast. We'll see y'all in a minute.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Family Dynamics Podcast with Kevin and Alicia Meeks.
Thank you, guys.
Please like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to follow us on social media at The Family Dynamics.
We'll see y'all in a minute.
Bye.